So let's go work on the dialog engine for Carrie. Let's add a feature to query. And I'm going to use the existing work on query. I'm going to use my existing Carrie environment. Let's see if Carrie works at all over here. Let's use not the life skill, maybe the Eliza skill. Pip install. Oh, it's in Carrie env, not work on. Conda activate, because I created the Carrie environment. It's going to that one when I say work on. So conda activate Carrie in. My work on command worked to get me in the right directory, but let's see if that Carrie command will work now. Oh, nice. So what's up, Eliza? This is that old 1960s chatbot. Please go on. It's a really basic chatbot, but it's just my aliveness test for Carrie. Okay, now let's see if we can create a new skill for Carrie that handles this new approach to state management. Let's put some notes here about what we've been working on so we can plan out what we want to do for this Carrie. It's a description. All of this is irrelevant now, so in this episode, we will be creating a dialogue engine from scratch. We'll call it a rule-based dialogue engine or rule-based dialogue engine or state machine from scratch. Something called a finite state machine, because obviously we're not going to create an infinite number of states. Let's bring up a window. We can create a file. Let's go to query, and inside of query, inside the source directory, we could do this in skills. Our goal is to actually work with this YAML file. What do we call that? v3.dialog.yaml. This is the only version of that we've got right now. For the Moya project, we're developing a chatbot that can speak in several languages. Currently, it only speaks in Chinese, Spanish, and English. And I've only explored the existing working chatbot. Let's just see so you can see where that exists right now. It's up on chat.carrie.ai. You can see down here in the lower right-hand corner is this little poly icon, polywana cracker, where you get to choose your language and interact with the chatbot. And you can see that that's what's then been recorded that I manually copied and pasted from that interaction. This is our staging server for interacting with the chatbot as we're doing testing. The real one is over at We Speak at the Mayor's Office of New York City. I wonder if, just so you guys can see that resource, if you ever want to learn English language, this is a great resource, especially if you're coming from another native language. I wonder where I put that. Is there any? There it is. It pops up if you go to We Speak NYC of New York. This is what our latest project that we're working on for the next 3 months. Let's get back to work. So that's the context of where this bot was created. And we were trying to create a dialogue engine that can then exercise that. Currently, we're using a dialogue engine it's really, it's basically all in JavaScript and doesn't give us a lot of the flexibility of natural language understanding that we'd like to do. So if you type something, like if you choose your language by, instead of clicking on the button, if you type the word English, if you don't spell English exactly correctly, it won't understand you. And so that's one of the advantages of NLU, natural language understanding, is you could type something like ENG and it might recognize that correctly. Or instead of saying Chinese simplified, if you just said Chinese, it would recognize that. So anyway, or if you used other ways. So this is the way we do intent recognition in a chatbot. You specify all the different things you might say, that the user might type or say, and where that should send you in the dialogue engine tree. So you can imagine in your mind, every time you see a hyphen here, that's a break, that's a new state. We give that state an ID or a name. And so the state name that we're in currently is the select language state. So if they've selected Spanish, then we'll go to the selected Spanish state. But it looks like they're all going to this one. There's no selected. Actually, that's an actual bug in our data at the moment. So we should change all of these to be, or create multiple names. That's an interesting idea. We could give multiple names to one state, so that if in the future we decide to split it up, we could split it up. I'm getting complicated here. Let's just leave it the simple. We're going to create a chatbot that can only work with this file format that has single stuff. And I'm just going to create at least one of them that does the correct transition so we can test it. And so then after this, you go, and then this welcome just asks you to say yes again, which is kind of redundant. And so I copied it to create the selected English one. So it would continue working, but it's just a duplicate of this one. It says the exact same thing. So, I guess because what I've done is I've created the alternate languages. So sometimes you want to transition to a different state. Sometimes you just want to store something in a variable, like the language that's been selected. And so there's two different ways of using this whole engine. Okay, I'm confusing things. For now, let's go back to the way it was before. And we will worry about that later. For now, we're trying to create something that can parse this. So let's create a function in carry that can parse this. New file. We're going to call this will be carry. We'll comply with the skills. This is just going to be a function. So we're going to call this, I think there's a dialog engines directory here. Scores, plugins, executives, actions. I don't see anything like I was expecting. Plugins, not ET. Oh, under ETL there might be engines. Let's see what I've got in terms of engine or dialog. Dialog engine.py. Dialog managers. This is what I expected to see. They're both under chat. Do I have chat here? Yeah, there it is. Okay. So here's all my different ways of, dialog. Here we go. So I've got we've made a lot of different attempts at this. So you can see I've got a new one. I've got dialog managers. So we're going to call this one dialog v3. Let's go. So this is going to be carry.chat.dialog v3 .py. Well, it's not going to be .py in that sort of form. Let's save the file. So load star.v3.dialog.yaml files and execute function. Here's the core thing that's we need to understand. That takes in a state name and user utterance and returns a new state name and bot utterance. An utterance is what the thing says. Intent recognition or recognize intent. Or state transition function that, and then I'm going to put a colon after here. It takes inputs, state name, or ID, which is a stir, and user utterance, which is also a stir. We probably also want to take a lang stir, or 2 characters basically. ZH is the abbreviation, ISO abbreviation for Chinese. For Spanish, it's ES for Espanol. So those are the ones that we currently have implemented. state ID. So this would be welcome. Let's see, language selected English is one possible state name. And it's going to return. This is what's called TD or DDD, really, document-driven development. So I'm giving it some examples of what the function should do, or some examples of what the inputs are, and so that we can then run some tests and see if it actually works once we're done. Hello, chatbot. And outputs or return values, a dictionary, we'll call this give it the key ID, and that's going to be, it's a stir again, new state name that we, and then we'll call this text for, this will be the bot utterance. Okay. Now let's see if we can create a function that does that doc string. Let's save that so we don't lose that work. So it's giving me, this is gonna, oh yeah, this is gonna be a new module within the chat library. So I'm all the way over in, oops, dialog v3 called that. Let's look back in Tangible AI over in no code and carry and source and carry and chat is where we're creating this. We'll call this dialog v3.py here. Now we're finally ready to do some coding, and we have almost no time left. Def, recognize intent. And we're going to take these as arguments. So lang equals, we're going to default to English. We're going to take text. I might change the name of that variable up above to text, because this is what the bot said. I wonder if we should say bot text, just to make it clear what's going on here. Try to be as explicit as possible in your variable names so you don't forget what they are. Bot text equals welcome. No, let's not give it anything. So the bot text is really, oh wait, do we need to know what the bot, no, this is user text. User message text, or user message, anyway. And this, we don't want to give a default for that. Let's leave that as a positional argument that's really required. The state is also, so we're going to call this state ID. That is also a required argument. I guess we can make them none just so they're named arguments so that the user can put them in either order. Actually, I think that works in Python, even when you don't give it a default value. I think it'll still allow you to use named arguments. So this is what we'll do. And for our MVP, we will just return, we'll just echo back a dictionary with state ID equals state ID. And bot text equals user text. So the user's just going to echo back to, or the bot's going to echo back to the user. Do we need a lang? I guess the user might change their language in the course of an interaction with the bot, so we're going to also return the lang. And the reason why we're returning a dictionary is because we're returning more than one thing. And you never want to return more than one thing without naming those things. Okay, why are there's all this highlighted? Okay, great. So I think I can put this stuff as documentation. of what's going to actually happen. Recognize desired state transition and return it to the front end. So the idea is that the front end is going to be calling this API in order to get the next, and we're just going to stay in the same state and just keep echoing, and that's what this current function is going to do. And just make sure that that works. We can do a dot test. Recognize intent, state ID equals, well, let's use an actual one from Poly chatbot. The very first one is select language. That's not a really good one to work with. Let's work with this other one. Select language welcome. Selected English. Is this your first selected language welcome? So this asks an actual question that has more than, is this your, can I ask you a few questions? No, that's not very useful. It's not, that's all, your only answer to that is yes. And that's not very helpful. Skip across that. Let's go to the level 3 or depth 3, depth 2 at least. Or depth 2 is this your first? I don't see the, is this your first time question? I must have gotten this out of order somehow. But anyway, this is one of the challenges that Maria is working on, visualizing where you are in the dialogue as you're trying to edit these files. Anyway, I'm going to use that for now as my test state name. And maybe that's why I'm not finding it. Maybe that's already in. Maybe, is this your first time talking? Yep, that's what the bot is supposed to be saying here. Okay, cool. So is that what I need? I'll go ahead and copy that just in case. What the user might say is yes or no, so that's easy. I don't need to copy that. State ID, is this your first time? So, and so this would be user text. Is that what I want? Yeah, user text equals yes. This is my first time. We won't give it a language, and so that should return yes. Oh, that dictionary. Unfortunately, that's going to be hard to get correctly, so I might just run the function and see if it works. I'll run that test. Actually, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. Let it generate the entire text string. Okay, IPython. See if any of this other stuff is finished up. Still, wow, it's really working hard to try to solve that environment. This could be why you were having so much trouble, Trooks. Oh, over here on indexing, we're not waiting on anything. I just don't know how to use that thing. Okay. From carry dot chat import star. Oh, that's not going to help. Dialog v3. Woohoo! There's our recognize intent, and I can paste that test. And let's see how it works. Great. And now the beauty of doc tests is you just copy the output that you just got, and now you've got yourself a test, if this is the correct thing. This isn't actually the correct thing, so we're going to modify that to be what it should be so we get a failing test. What it should be, if you say, if you answer yes, when you're in this state, is this your first time talking to me? So if the user says yes, that should transition to, is this your first yes? Instead of, let's change that first. Dialog v3, nope, dialog v3.py. Let's see if we've got, see how many people we still have online now that we're over time. Oh, it's just Chooks and I and Fahia. Let's go ahead and finish up this test. Is this your first time? Instead, it should be returning the new state ID, which was, is this your first time? Yes, because the user has said yes. And so the bot text in that case is going to be, let's look at the YAML file. Is this your first time? Yes. Ooh, we don't have the English for what you're supposed to say here. It's something about all the resources that are available, like let's do some translation. Actually, we just did this in English, so we can launch and go back to that and see if that is still up there. Okay, not finding the good stuff yet. Stay on page. I'm still editing a Wikipedia article. Okay, let's go back to chats.carry.ai. Let's wait for that to pop up. Let's interact in English, and let's copy the text from the "Are you ready?" After "Are you ready?" This is our first time. We're going to select yes, and now this is what the bot should say. Which of the following do you represent? So we need to choose whether we're a student. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that text here in the English text. And next, I'm going to try to make these all multi-line strings, even though this one's a single line, just so we're consistent. So I'll have to quote things. Next, it also makes it look prettier because it's indented. The other thing that we need is these buttons. And I'm not sure how I'm representing buttons. I think I'm just pasting those in the multi-line text. I'm doing it in both places. So let's go ahead and do it in both places. Ooh, no, I'm not. I create a separate thing called intense, but it doesn't have intense EN and intense. Let's go ahead and do that, ZH. So we have a Chinese intense and we have English intense. And we need to do do we have any way of specifying which ones are buttons and which ones are not? No, we don't. We may in the future come up with some way of doing that. Maybe we'll just put the buttons in the actual text itself. Forgotten what Maria and I decided on that in order for a good format there. Anyway, we've got our answer. This is what the bot should actually be saying. So let's put that into our test. Up here, let's break it up to multiple, well, bot text instead of yes, it's going to say all this. So it'll normalize for new lines, but it might not allow me to put the, blank line it into file. Oops, that's not a blank line it into file. Let's get rid of that. So the line isn't too long for it. Okay, well, we got a test, and now so our goal is to get that test passing. I'll let you guys, everyone go and get back to your everyday life, not dealing with chatbots. Rule-based dialogues. So we'll start creating the first thing we do is create a dot test, which helps us plan out the functionality. And after you guys are gone, I think I'll probably quickly try to implement the rest of that by reading in this file